Welcome to the Ancient Coin Podcast with Aaron Berk, a show about ancient coins from the viewpoint of a seasoned professional with nearly 30 years' experience. Here's Aaron Berk and Mike Nodelman on the Ancient Coin Podcast.
And the sound of the gong means it is time once again for the Ancient Coin Podcast with Aaron Berk. I'm Mike Nodelman.
I'm Aaron Berk.
So on this afternoon's episode of the Ancient Coin Podcast, we are going to look at some auctions that Aaron found pretty interesting. We also have a Doofus purchase. We have an educational segment. I'm really kind of excited about this one. I like it. I like the theme. But let's start with the auction news. So, Aaron, take it away. What's going on in the world of auctions?
Well, I'll give you a synopsis of my trip to Zurich, which I did I guess over a week ago. I was there for the NAC auction, but I was able to view all of Nomos as well, which was right after NAC, which we profiled the fractions sale, and I was able to view every single coin in person, and they were amazing. So the fractions went really, really, really strong. Like some people would say that there was a lot of Doofus purchases there, but they were so rare and so unusual, and a lot of them were plate coins in the books that it's hard to say how much somebody should pay for something like that. But that catalog will be a reference book on fractions for years to come, for sure. Yeah. Absolutely. The NAC sale was a bloodbath. I mean, it usually is, but for me, it was really a bloodbath because I went in with probably the most dollar value-wise of bids that I've ever initiated and didn't come out a big winner in any of the massive pieces I was going after. But it was fun because, I got to see a lot of my peers there because I hadn't been to Europe in a while. And my sister lives in Zurich, and I was with my other sister. So I had both my sisters there.
As much as I hate to say, you can't win everything. It's like you'd like to, but if you're winning everything, you're paying too much for something.
Well, it's just that I hadn't gone over in a long time, so it would have been really nice to come home with something big.
Sure.
Being that
and particularly what you were bidding on, some of that stuff was pretty nice stuff.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. It was for sure. So I would say that the ancient coin market is still extremely healthy. And because then the Nomos sale, obviously with the fractions, and the regular sale was still very, very, very strong. And CNG had their sale this past week, and that was relatively strong. I wouldn't say the coins were stellar like they were in the NAC sale, but there were some very nice coins in there. And so I would say we're still looking at a very healthy market that really hasn't subsided too much. So I just profiled one auction this. I'm going to profile one auction this week, which we've profiled this before. This is the G. Nelson sale. It's going to be June 16th and 17th. So coming up here soon. And Happy Memorial Day coming up, which is
isn't it G. Nelson and her brother?
G. Nelson and her brother?
Yes.
I don't know. Is it? Yeah, I guess. It's more like G. Nelson and Firm. I don't know. So,
okay, just asking.
But G. Nelson owns the firm.
I got you.
There is a G. Nelson, and he owns the firm. Anywho,
and his brother. I'm sorry.
As my daughter would say, anywho.
Sean Nelson.
That's what my daughter. That's what my daughter likes to say when she wants to change the subject on me. She says, "Anywho." In any case, this sale has 2,300 lots of Ancient and World. And the first lot I wanted to profile, which is not a rare coin, and it's one that comes up often, is lot 37. We've profiled it many times on the show, the Masana tetradrachm out of Sicily. And what I found interesting about this coin is a lot of the standard types of Masanas have the dolphin underneath, or will have different symbols underneath, but typically it's the dolphin. But here you just have a really cool looking rabbit, and then just the inscription below. So I thought that was really kind of cool and unusual. And the other thing you have to, and I'll talk about it in a second, but when you'll see it's that the sale is in French, and so it's always good to use your Google Translator for these things. Just cut and paste it right into Google Translate, and you'll get all the details that may be missing to you if you don't understand French. So,
I like the rabbit on this, and this is the lunar year of the rabbit.
Oh, well, yay for China.
Okay. No, you were talking about Google Translate. I mean, the whole Jean, it's Jean. If we're going to be French about it, it's Jean Elson.
It's true. It is Jean.
Yes.
That's right.
And his brother. That was the problem. Is it was a
There you go. There you go. So anyway, let's move on. The next coin is lot 64. And what I like about this coin is now, we just talked about fractions a while ago, and this isn't a pretty coin, but what you have here is you have the Mende, which typically the Mende tetradrachms, which would have the drunken satyr on a mule, which this one actually is a representation of it in a smaller variety. So instead of spending, which typically those things run anywhere from $30,000 to $75,000, and most people can't afford that.
Nope.
So why not get a little tiny fraction, which basically has the same iconography on the obverse of the coin, and still in silver. And so this is a tetraoble. It's not an oval, so it's a little bit bigger, but not too much bigger. Not great surfaces, but it's all there, and so I think that's really cool.
You
And
can
so
see the entire image. You can make out what's there, and that for something with surfaces like this is pretty good.
Right. So again, you don't have to be a billionaire to buy smaller denominated or bronze coins with the same type of motifs. And so I find that really cool. And I hadn't seen this type before. I don't know how rare it really is. I didn't really study it, but I'm not used to seeing it. So it must be somewhat scarce. But again, cool coin in that regard. And I'm always, yes, we talk about expensive coins on this show because it really shows you what the whole image can look like, right? So if I want to show you just low end coins, and you're not going to always see the imagery. So I have to show you high end coins. Doesn't mean that we can all afford them, but at least we see what the images are. And now we can go to these fractions and we're able to make out a lot of it because we already know what the image really looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and this one is well affordable to just about anybody.
Right. And again, go to the next one. This is going to be lot 146. Again, not a pretty coin, but this is the Kenosis, and it has the labyrinth on the reverse. Yeah. One of the most famous and most popular coins to collect in the whole series. And so again, in silver, to get a labyrinth coin in a larger denomination coin, you're looking at $5,000 plus. So, here's a nice little example of getting exactly what you want in a smaller denominated coin. So why not? Obviously, people see what it is, and so they started at 100. It's already at 1,300 euros. So it's getting up there. But again, it's not going to bring the kind of money that the larger denominated coins do. And obviously this is rare because they don't come up too often, and that's probably why it's getting the popularity it's getting. But again, sometimes nice imagery comes in small packages.
And who knows, by next show, it may be the Doofus purchase.
But it's, again, and we'll get into this, it's hard to know what a Doofus purchase is for something that's rare. It really is. And that's kind of like our Pearl later, which is more of a question with discussion behind it that we're going to get into later. So lot 332 is the final coin. Again, we've talked about these. Decadrams of Syracuse are not rare. They were collected in ancient times, and so they were not destroyed, and so a lot of them survive. And so almost every major sale, not even all major sales for that, they have a decagram of either Euenetos or Chemone, and here we have Euenetos. Now, here's where it's important to translate the French, because if you look on the Arethusa side, which is going to be the reverse of this coin, above her head, if you bring in up the enlargement, you'll see it from 12 o'clock to 2 o'clock, it's kind of different coloration, and they actually, in French, they say that it's been polished along that edge. So that could take away from the value. Obviously, if it went into an NGC holder, they would count it down for the surfaces. But again, I've been thinking more and more about NGC and the comments on the slab. For instance, like the brushed comment. I hate that comment. I really don't like that comment. And I was told, and that just means that it was cleaned abrasively, I suppose. And I was told recently that NGC, and this wasn't confirmed by NGC, but I told somebody, I talked to somebody who actually knows something about what goes on as far as the grading at NGC goes. And they supposedly use a black light on the coins to look up that brushed look. And so if you can't see it with the naked eye and you actually have to use a black light to see it, I just don't think it's worth mentioning. I mean, all ancient coins are cleaned. Every single ancient coin that comes out of the earth is cleaned. If in the beginning of this show, we looked at encrusted coins that come out of the earth and they look like garbage. You would not want to own these coins, people. So they have to be cleaned. And whether they're cleaned abrasively or not abrasively, if you can't really see with the naked eye, I don't think it's worth mentioning.
Well, I
don't know what
wonder,
you think.
I truly wonder, how CSI do you have to go? I mean, for the standpoint of, look, for a modern coin, if you want to figure out, has it been cleaned? Has it been toned? Has it been artificial? All that stuff is great. But with ancients, it is a completely different world. This stuff, most of it came out of the ground. So yes, it's been brushed. Yes, it's been cleaned. Yes, it's been, unencrusted in some way. What's the problem?
Right. Or when they say
in most cases, it actually improves the look of the coin. And
Right.
and yes, I mean,
Right.
look, we're not talking about something that is pristine anymore. So now
if you have to use a black light to see it, then it's not worth mentioning.
well,
as far as
that's
I'm
my whole
concerned.
CSI point. It's like how far do you really have to go with it?
Right. And then, like when they say edge crack, well, that's the way it was made. So, ancient coins were sold for literally hundreds of years. And I mean that, hundreds of years, where that stuff was never mentioned because it doesn't need to be mentioned. Ancient coins that have a split on the edge, that's just from striking. It's not damage. And so by putting it as a comment on the tag, it's like a negative comment. And to me, that's really silly.
Well, I
'Cause
think in fairness, to say that it's there, I don't think is a crime, because I think
you
it
can see
does
it.
right, because I think that it really does factor into how nice is the coin. But
Well,
beyond
a
that,
lot of times, yeah, a lot of times when we mention edge, anything, the first thing you think of is X jewelry.
okay, yeah, or solder, or see what I think edge. I think generally split or jewelry.
But again, it's an ancient coin that was hand struck, and sometimes the dice, the planchet split when they struck it.
Oh no,
It's
absolutely,
not,
but
it's not damage.
no, but my point is that one that is not split would be more desirable than one that is. So, I mean, just to
Right.
call it out as far as describing it, I don't think is a really big crime. But when you're, I think if you're discounting the coin because of it, that's a different story.
Well, I think that people do discount it because those comments have generally been negative. They're usually using a negative connotation, and so by saying it, you're saying it's a negative. And so people will not buy the coin because they don't know anything about ancients, and they think, oh, it's damaged. Well, it's not damaged. It's, I had a dealer show me an Antonized Pice, and I've mentioned this before in the show. It was really an FTC coin, beautiful in every way, and they put edge split on the coin, and he told me I can't sell it now because the people who buy them in the slabs won't touch anything that has a negative comment.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, no, I understand. And that's just people who are trying to normalize or idiot proof coins for people that just aren't willing to take the time to learn.
Right.
It's unfortunate, but it's true.
Right. And, we got a coin back this week that said they said it was filled. It was a gold coin. They said it was filled. And I can tell you that every single most of the coins in that series had the exact same flaws. So unless they were all filled in ancient times, which I suppose is possible, or modern times, but the fact that they all have the same surfaces and the same kind of look, and then they wouldn't slab the coin because of that.
Well, if yours is bad, they're all bad, is what you're saying.
Well, but they're not fake. That's the point. And so
Right.
they won't slab it because it said it has a fill. Well, that's also silly too, because it's still authentic. And so you should still slab it and then say, if you want to say fill, put that on as your comment. But to not slab it because of that is really ridiculous, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would wonder what is so egregious on an ancient coin that you wouldn't slab it.
Yeah, to me it makes no sense. And then of course, then the client who buys it and gets it slabbed thinks, oh well, it's a problem coin, I want to return it. And yeah, you could return it, but most dealers, unless they sold it for some astronomical amount of money, they don't have to guarantee that because it's a guarantee of authenticity, not of restoration, I suppose. But it's a fine line, and I think that in general, you just have to play it, kind of play it by ear.
Fair
when
enough.
It comes to that kind of stuff. So anyway, that's the G. Nelson sale. There's some other really good sales coming up. Check it out on numisbids or Bidder or wherever you check out your auctions. So that's that. So as far as Doofus purchases, I wanted to kind of take a look, even though these coins are out of the price range of almost all of us. But I wanted to talk about it because it's going to tie into our Pearl of Wisdom later. And so if you bring up the first coin, it's the Pant, capaeum. Now, that was in the NAC sale, lot 155. You got that up, Mike?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. And by the way, Mike, you're doing a great job.
Thank you, sir.
So this coin was bought by the Sheikh in 2011 for 3.8 million hammer. Okay. And that was dollars at the time because it was actually sold in New York City. So no one thought that this coin would ever reach that price. In fact, NAC didn't want to sell this coin until the very end of the Sheikh's family's coins because they knew that the family would take a loss. They thought the family would take a loss on this coin. It ended up selling for 4.4 million Swiss francs. So I think all in, it's close to $6 million, something like that.
Wow.
And I have to admit that I was the underbidder on this coin. And so is the buyer and me, are we doofuses for going this high? I think, a lot of people would say yes, because, the problem is, and I can tell you that I had my client on the phone, so I didn't advise him to go this high. I thought it would only bring 2 to 2.5 million. And he kept wanting to go on it. So I was just a catalyst for him. This is not something I advised him to do, but he wanted it really badly. And the person we were bidding against, they jumped the bid by 200,000 because they were going by $100,000 increments. They jumped the bid 3 separate times to try to scare us off the coin. And the last time we were at 4.2 million, and they jumped it to 4.4, and then we would have had to bid 4.5. So essentially, we would have had to go like the other 2 times before that, an extra 3 million or 300,000, I should say. And so we stopped at that point. If you look at the Pant to capaeum coins, and I've had discussions with some people about this, if you look at the Pant to capaeum series, the side profile, which comes up all the time, it's not a rare coin. Now, this 3/4 facing is scarce, but it is in most museum collections, a lot of museum collections. So the chance of another one of these coming up is not so
It's not impossible.
It's not impossible. And so, and this one bringing 4.4 million Swiss francs hammer, the next one, if the person I'm bidding against who won this coin isn't bidding anymore, then maybe it goes for 2 million for the next one, because again, the most important person isn't the person who wins the coin, it's the person who underbids the coin. So in this situation, my client and I were the reason why it went for this level, because we were bidding. If we had stopped, it maybe it only went for 2.5 or 3. So and so you have to kind of look at it as, it's a rare coin. They do come up. They did find a pedigree on it that didn't have before, that went back to the 1930s. It was 1931, in fact, came out of the Hermitage. But again, this series is not, they produced a lot of coins in Pant to capaeum, a lot of coins. You can see that from all of the side profile satyr heads that have been coming up in the last 5 years, tons of them. So there has to be more of this issue of this type. Just has to be.
Well, this is an exceptional coin anyway around it.
It is. But if you looked at the gold medallion of Probus, that was much more spectacular in hand. And I was near underbidder on that one as well. We didn't get that one as well. But that one ended up going for 2.4 million. And in my opinion, that coin was much more impressive than this coin by a long shot. I held both coins in my hand, and that medallion, even though it was, maybe you'd say, well, Probus isn't so great as far as collectability, but I had never seen a medallion like that, and it was unique. That's it. There is no others. That's it. So to me, that was a much better value, even though it's millions of dollars. It was just not even close. I would much rather have that coin over this coin. Just from holding them. I was talking to one of the owners of NAC, and we both were talking about it and said, when we held that coin, that was like, for a dealer, that's like a wow moment. The Pant to capaeum, it's wow, but it's more wow because of the value. That coin was a wow. That was like, holy crap.
Kind of like the Idmar Aureus.
Yeah.
It's a wow.
Yeah, it was even more wow than the gold Mar Aureus. Wow. I'd never held something so beautiful in my hands. It was huge. It was just, the iconography was just incredible. It was 3D-ish. it jumped out at you. It was so incredible in so many ways. It really was. It was just one of those coins that I couldn't take my eyes off of it. So anyway, so there's that one. And then if you go to the next one, there's the silver Idmar, which I bought with my client for 600,000 in Heritage. And again, I'm looking at myself and my client, are we doofuses for buying this for this level? Because with the commission, it was $720,000. And this coin already was the highest priced coin for silver Idmar at 450,000, I believe, that when it went for in 2011, and it held that record until the same coin broke it again. So by a long shot. And if you compare it to, yes, it has a couple scratches on the reverse, But if you compare this coin, and this image doesn't do it justice, if you compare this coin to all the other Eidmars that have come up, it's far superior, maybe not in centering, but the metal quality, it's the best by far. And it also has a pedigree all the way back to the 1930s. A lot of the Eidmars that have come on the market in the last 20 years, they're all corroded. They all have rough surfaces. This one does not. So and this is a coin that I think that NGC should have starred. They did not star it, which to me was asinine. You know,
It just doesn't make sense.
It doesn't. I mean, if you compare it to all the other Eidmars out there, there's no comparison, in my opinion. Some would say, oh, well, this one is better, or the Benz one is better. I don't think so. I really don't. You know, historically, metal-wise, it has so much going on for it. Has those couple scratches, but I can tell you from holding it, it's a fantastic. And I've held many Eidmars, and I like.
It says that this one is the only example certified to receive a fine style designation from NGC. So it gets fine style, but it doesn't get a star.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Hold on. Alexa, turn on the light. Forgot to do that. Well, we kind of started when it was light out, and now it's getting dark. So anyway, so those are my possible two doofuses. You can decide whether I was a doofus or not, because if you can't look at yourself as a doofus, then you can't.
Well, yeah, I mean, you
call out others as well.
If you're going to be out there and you're going to be throwing stones,
correct.
Yes,
correct. So I can throw some at myself as well. So that's going to take us to our educational section, Mike.
Fantastic.
And you said you like this one.
I really do, because look, I like it when we have themes. Themes to me are really good. They tie things together. And last time we did a theme, we also have the window out in front of the store that has a theme. It seems to grab people that are less into or less knowledgeable. That's
correct. Correct. So there isn't a ton of bugs on ancient coins, but or different types, I should say. But I wanted to profile a few of them. So just like if you're collecting animals on coins, you can collect bugs on coins. So, and they don't always have to be expensive, because most of the time, as you'll see, the bug is not necessarily the main theme of the coin. A lot of time it's just control symbols. So they're just little emblems on there, and that's what makes it more fun trying to find them, which could be very interesting. So if you go to the first slide, Mike. So we're going to get into the grasshopper. And so probably the most famous one is going to be the one on the bottom right, which is the metapontum, which has the wheat ear with the grasshopper to the right there. Mm-hmm. And so most metapontum coins, you'll see both of those coins on the right are both coins of metapontum. One's a nomos, one is a stator. And so that's probably one of the most popular types to get. And so it's probably from the relationship of the bug that's on the hanging around these wheats that was big exports for the city, and so they use it as a relationship. And it sometimes it has sometimes these bugs can mean that they're trying to appease the gods so that the bugs don't eat their crops. There's all different reasons for why they do it.
So the one on the bottom right, mm-hmm. it looks to be incused on the reverse. So is it just like the exact same design, basically incused?
No, we've talked about these coins. So the coins in South Italy under the Greeks of Lucania, Posidonia, Colonia, Thurium, they actually make it look like it's just a repeat incuse, but if you look on it's actually two separate dies. Mm-hmm. And on if you look on the reverse, on the one at the bottom, to the left of the wheat ear is actually an outline of a dolphin.
Okay. See, I understood that it wasn't like, pressed through the coin. What I was asking was, were the designs the same and just one kind of infused? And it's just the wheat that's infused that and the rim, because the dolphin is definitely raised and the field doesn't
they
have
really
a
are two
grasshopper.
separate. They are two completely separate dies.
Sure.
So it's not a repeating die. It's not pushed through is my point.
Right.
They are separate. And that's just how they did it for all those cities. And they're very thin coins, actually, on top of you. Think they'd be really thick. They're not. They're extremely thin coins. And if you look to the upper left, that's a Sicilian Syracuse tetragram. And if you look at the bottom underneath the exurgal, what we call the exurgal line, where the chariot in the very bottom rim, you'll see the grasshopper. Just faint little design there. So it has a little tiny grasshopper hanging out on the Syracuse
Grasshopper
coin,
on one
which is
side,
really
the
cool.
dolphin on the other.
Correct, which is common for Syracuse. And then on the coin of Philip II, which is right below it, you'll see the grasshopper on the reverse underneath the raised hoof of the horse.
It looks like it's going to get stopped.
Maybe it will. And you'll find on Alexander the Great's that there are flies and grasshoppers and all kinds of bugs in these control marks as well. So you just have to look for them. They're not always, in most cases, these bugs are not the main design of the coin. Sometimes they are, which we'll see, but it depends on the size of the coin too. A lot of these are tetragrams or staters or nomoses, so they're have a little bit more real estate. So they're typically not the main theme. So if we go to the next slide, you'll see the cicadas. And so here we have a hemidram in the upper left, and you'll see in the quadran of the reverse, a cicada. But then you'll see to the right in gold, or it's actually electrum, a hectae, and the whole coin on the obverse is the cicada, which is really cool, beautiful. And if you look down below, you'll on the coin of Abdera, you'll see that there is a cicada in the field in front of the griffin. So sometimes I think these bugs can get confusing. Sometimes they look like flies, sometimes they don't. So sometimes it comes down to interpretations. So, and then going on, the famous, and I kind of put these all together. These are kind of bees, wasps, and flies, because again, they're not always clear what they could be. But obviously the Ephesus bee, which is the top left coin, that's the most popular of all of the bee coins. And so you have this beautiful bee on the obverse on all of the coins of Ephesus. Going below that coin, we have a coin of Rhodes, and we have a rose. Most of the Rhodes coin have roses on them, and on the inside the incus in the bottom left, you'll see a little bee or wasp or fly, whatever, probably a wasp or fly or something. And then on the Roman Republican coin, the upper right, you'll see on the obverse of the coin, just to the left of the head, you'll see again, probably looks more like a fly there. Could be a bee though. It's probably a bee.
Looks like it has a stinger on the bottom.
Yeah, it does. And then finally we have a Masana. I actually bought this coin at NAC. It's a fabulous coin. It's really beautiful. And it's unusual to get the bee fly below the hair. But I held this coin in my hand, and it's stunning. It really is stunning. So if we move on, not very common. We get coins with we actually have a coin with an ant on it. And so I believe there's only one coin with a Pant, capaeum. That's the coin above that actually has a ant on it. The piece below it is not a coin. It's actually a piece of tessera, which is almost like antiquity. It's tessera could have been used for multiple reasons. Could have been a token of some sort, but it also has an ant. So again, not very common, but they exist. So if we go down to the next one, we have butterflies. And so on the no, again, not common on most coins, but we have an Augustus aureus with a crab on the reverse, and above it we have this beautiful butterfly between the pinchers. And then the coin below it, we have a butterfly that's underneath the SC on the reverse of this coin, and actually pretty well formed butterfly at that. You can see the two
antennae.
tentacles. Yeah, so that's pretty cool actually. I really like that coin a lot. And not really a bug, but it's related. It's a cousin of the spider, is the scorpion. So I almost took it out, and then I'm like, well, it's not a bug, but it is a cousin of the spider. Yeah. But it's a cousin of the spider. They consider it an animal because it has more legs than bugs, and I don't know. But it is a cousin of the spider, so we're going to leave it in. And there's no spiders, so we might as well leave it in as a representation of that family tree.
There you go.
So we have Cancer on the upper left coin. That's an Antonius Pius bronze dram minted at Alexandria. And you have this beautiful scorpion, which is part of the Cancer mythology, or not mythology. What is
symbolism?
Symbolism. Thank you.
I'm a Cancer.
And then well, it's
good in more ways than one. But, yeah.
So, and then below that coin, we have another Roman Republican coin with a symbol of a scorpion just to the right of the eagle, which is really cute.
Even as small as it is, it has a lot of detail to it.
It does have a lot of detail.
Obvious
it's
what
really
it is.
Cool. It is. And then we have, again, a small coin, another Electrum coin, probably from Phocaea or something like that, a small hectae. And here you have this beautiful, well-shaped scorpion on the obverse of the coin. And then below that, we have a coin of Byblos, I believe, with a beautiful scorpion above the lion on the reverse, also really well-defined and very, very cool. I would buy this coin for the scorpion more than any other thing on this coin. So again, not a ton, but there's a lot of control. You'll find a lot of control marks with bugs on them, and in all different kinds of series. And so mostly like in Alexander the Great and Philip and Republican. And so it's cool. And then, some of the cities like Ephesus, they use a lot of bees all the time in all of their coins. So that's their main motif, generally speaking. So that's bugs on coins.
That was actually really cool. See, that's what I mean. I really like the themes. I think themes
I thought since we're in spring and we're going into summer, and I actually went for a 10-mile walk today, and so I had bugs flying around my head. Wow. So I was like, you know what, bugs are talking to me. So so I had to go that route today.
It was bugging you.
So that brings us to our pearl wisdom, which kind of ties into our Doofus purchase, and that is, how much should you pay for a rarity?
And that is, this is where you draw a line, and there's going to be room for opinion everywhere, right? So what you think may be different than what I think, and what I think may be different than somebody else. And at the end of the day, it's the people that have the money to spend that determine who it is.
Yeah, I just think, you have to draw that line sometimes. And for instance, I had a kind of a situation with one of my clients, and he's probably listening, but and this what kind of made me think about it. And that is, there was a relatively not common, but coin that comes up pretty often, and it had a rare animal on the reverse of the coin. When I saw the coin, it was horrible. I mean, it was completely corroded and really not a nice coin. And it's just because of the lighting that you're able to make out some of that rare animal. When I first saw the coin, I thought, if I got this coin for a huge amount of money, I would not be happy. And so But he still wanted it. We didn't go as high as he would have wanted to go, and we ended up losing the coin, and he wasn't too happy about it. But I can tell you that I see rarities like that come up constantly, because you don't know a coin's a rarity until you see it. In some cases. So, and then you start researching it, and if it didn't come up, you wouldn't even know about it. And so the next time, and I can tell you, my dad talks about this all the time. In all his almost 60 years of doing this, he still sees coins he's never seen before, ever. And so, and we all have that aha moment, right? It doesn't mean you need to own them all.
No,
because there's always going to be another rarity that's going to come up that you've never seen before. All the time.
And this rarity, the one that you passed on or missed out on, whichever way you want to put it, it's not a unique coin. So,
well, it's unique for the symbol, but does that make it worth spending huge money on the coin if it's not a quality coin?
Huge, no, but it does kind of raise the bar as to where you'll go with it.
Of course, that makes you want to buy it, even though it's a piece of garbage.
Yes. Well, yes.
But it doesn't mean you have to pay out the nose for it, because there might be another one that comes up that's that has another symbol that's just as cool. I mean, it's really a hard balance, and I think that's the problem. Is that maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong.
It's
maybe
an
that coin
opinion.
is.
That's, I think, where it comes down to. It's an opinion. There's no right or wrong. It's just, how you feel versus how somebody else does.
I had the coin in my hand, and I thought it was not a nice coin. I thought it was horrible. And so that's why I didn't suggest it. But, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe having something that no one else can have makes all the difference in the world.
It might, but I also think that people pay good money for your opinion. So if you really felt that strongly about it, there's something to it. I know.
I think it's it's really tastes and what your taste is and what your goals are. And so
I think that deals like that aren't evaluated right away. They're generally over time, because it's not now that you realize what a smart move it was to not buy it. It's as you buy something else that you look back on this and you say, you know what? I'm glad I didn't buy that one. That's where, and that takes time to bear fruit.
Yeah, well, and then also historically, the coin didn't bring much the first time it went up, and then the second time it came up, it brought big money. Right. And so, I don't know if it was going to keep on going up from there. That's the problem.
Right. Maybe the next time it comes up, it won't sell for as much.
No, it might sell for a loss.
Right.
But again, it really depends on what your goals are. So if owning something to own something because you're the only one who can own that variety is the reason why you're collecting, then you should spend all the money in the world for it. If you are more interested in buying for other reasons, then that's your reason. So, but again, like the Pant, capaeum, another facing one hasn't come up. So it's really hard to know how much to pay for something, but it doesn't mean that, supposedly there was one that came up in Loy about 25 or 30 years ago, but if that coin was going to come out in the market, you would have thought it would have came out when the Sheikh paid 3.8 million for that coin the first time. That would have drew it out. So if that didn't draw it out, I don't know if 4.4 is going to draw it out either. So, it's maybe it was the only opportunity to own one, or maybe 3 more come on the market in the next 5 years.
Right.
Who the hell knows?
That's always the gamble. A big auction result may pull a couple more of the same coin out, and you may have an opportunity.
I mean, there was a coin of Abdera in gold. I believe it was a gold stater that went for in NAC for 360,000 hammer, something like that. And I was sitting with my sister at the auction, and we were looking at each other like, why? But you do some research, and you find out that one's never come up. and the one that has come up is But Ugly. And so obviously 2 people realized that was the coin they needed for their collection, and so they didn't care what they paid. And so all it takes is 2 people, and I was watching. It was just 2 people. It was 2 dealers. Each one had their clients on the phone, and so those 2 clients were battling it out live.
And both
And
of them
so,
wanted the coin badly.
yeah, exactly. And so who am I to say, even though I thought it was an ugly coin and not worth the money, who am I to say that they're wrong?
Well, how much was that last coin to finish out the set valuable? How valuable was it to Louis Eliasberg, right? When he completed that set.
Correct. So. And, my client, he really wanted the facing Pant capaeum because he's trying to put together a set of the Pant capaeum series. And so he needed the coin. And so, and then at the end, we were on the phone live, and he said, let him have it. And then he and I talked later, and he said, there's no reason. He says, I'm a young man. There's no reason why I need to. It was already a stupid price. There was no reason to make it even stupider. And there's a good chance that I'll get one in my lifetime.
That's that's a smart person, though.
Well, it's a person
to
who
realize
has no regrets.
That, it's
like
a person
somebody that has
my
no
age
regrets about
would feel
what they
differently.
Did. Right. I mean, yeah, I was bummed for a day or 2 because I didn't get the commission, but I dusted myself off and realized that I still have, it's now again the most expensive ancient coin ever to sell because it broke the record of the gold Eidmar, which I was the underbidder on as well, which is now tainted because that was returned. So it's kind of in a way kind of cool that this Pant capaeum broke that record because now we have that tainted coin.
At least it doesn't hold the record, right?
It doesn't hold the record, right? And I was the underbidder on both coins, so I got to help make history. So I get to walk away with that, knowing that I was known as the underbidder. So, so there's something to be said for that. Again, there's always going to be another coin. I had another client who was worried about some personal stuff that was going to happen. So he canceled his bids on some coins. He ended up he wouldn't have won the coin anyway, but he was considering rebidding at the end. And I said to him, it's going to cause you stress. There's no reason to bid on the coin. I said, there's always going to be another coin. There'll always be another coin. This isn't going to be the last coin that you're ever going to try to buy.
No.
And then he said, you know what, you're right. And so that's what you have to, when you're bidding in auctions, you kind of have to dust yourself off when you don't win and realize there's always another coin.
Yeah, you can't win everything.
No,
you just can't. Like I said, if you do, you're paying too much for something.
Correct. And so so again, now when we talk about real true doofus purchases, when you get somebody paying too much money for a star, in my opinion, that's not a rarity. It's a rarity because maybe NGC doesn't give it out too often, but that's not a rarity to the coin itself. That's a rarity to somebody's opinion. So if you're going to pay an astronomical amount of money for an opinion and not for the rarity of the coin itself, then that's a problem.
Yeah, for a relatively common coin, you should not be paying stupid money. Correct. It just shouldn't work out that way. The only ones that should have that are the absolute just top of the heap. That's what goes for gaga stuff.
Yeah, because when I talk about a rare coin, it's rare because of the coin, not because of some star that's on the plastic.
Yeah, no, it's not condition rarity. There's no such thing in ancient coins.
No, and that's what it's turned into, which is crazy.
Well, it's because of the intermingling between U.S. collectors and ancient collectors. It's like you got a lot of people that really enjoy U.S. coins and have more money than sense, and so they've got to wade into something without necessarily doing.
Yeah, I mean, I got a coin back this week. It's like a $200 coin that got returned because NGC said it was fake. And I know this coin came from an old hoard And so, and I know that for a fact, but it was clean harshly with acid. So it had some bubbles on it from the acid cleaning. So they just considered it a cast, but they don't know where that coin came from. And I do.
Right.
And so it's authentic, but they thought it was fake. So NGC makes mistakes, but I had to give the money back because it's not worth fighting with the person. They want to have all their coins in slabs. So to me, it was easier just to give them back the $200.
Yeah, just go
$200.
get a different coin.
Correct. And that was true on, I've had a couple coins like that. You know, it's like, they're not always 100%. That's why they're not guaranteeing coins, guys, because they know that they're not always right. So they are really good at what they do. I will give them that, but they make mistakes just like any of us make mistakes. You know, the difference is.
Well, I mean, we often say, look, NGC makes mistakes too. And people are like, no, how do you know that? This is the kind of stuff we're talking about.
Right. You know, it's, you know, unless you can give a definitive answer why something is bad, you know, it's, and again, I have, you know, and someday I'll talk about this, but I'm actually having to fight a European company in the courts right now because they sold my client a very expensive coin that was condemned by every major numismatist in the world that's worth spit. And then I sent it to NGC and they condemned it as well. So I took that coin around and vetted it and they still said they wouldn't give the money back. And so they're just a bad auction house. And so they're making me go through the courts to fight them and spend some money. And I'm going to, and because it's the right thing to do. And eventually, after the case is won, I'm going to tell people who it is. You know, because then I'll just be reporting the news.
That's right.
So at that point, but you know, there are some bad auction houses out there, and the reason is because the collector that actually owned the coin doesn't want to give the money back, so they're keeping my client and the auction house hostage because they don't want to do the right thing. But my fight's not with the collector. My fight is with the auction house because they sold the coin.
Right.
And so, so at some point I will talk about that auction house again. So in any case,
stay tuned for that. That's our teaser.
That's the negative side about this business.
Yes,
so,
it is, and there's some of it.
There's not always people who play by the rules.
No, but they don't always get away with everything either. So
no, they don't.
No, justice does live.
Correct. So anyway, thanks, Mike. That was a nice show.
Oh, well, thank you. So,
I think it was a good show. I don't know.
I thought it. Well, we'll find out, won't we? They'll certainly let us know in the comments.
You guys can tell us where I messed up, or if you hated it, you loved it, whatever. You know.
Well, thank you to everybody who helped make this possible. Thank you to everybody who listened. We will get together again, and we'll do another one of these in a couple of weeks.
Happy holidays to you all.
Yeah.
In America. Happy
it's
Father's
Memorial
Day coming
Day,
up soon. I think Father's Day is coming. Father's Day is coming up as well. So.
Father's Day is in 3 weeks. I am going to be in Colorado again on Father's Day.
Yay. Oh, and my father, Aaron Berk, he's turning 81 on June 7th. So that's coming up here too, very soon.
Yes, sir.
So anyway, thanks, guys.
Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next time for the Ancient Coin Podcast. So long, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Ancient Coin Podcast with Aaron Berk. We'll return with another episode soon. Meantime, you can join our private group on Facebook. Just go to facebook.com and search the Groups tab for Ancient Coin Podcast Discussion Group and ask to join. There you can become part of our community, where we share and discuss ancient coins, as well as the show, the ancient coin market, auctions, or just to give our own opinions on things in order to learn together. Join Aaron and Mike again soon for the next episode of the Ancient Coin Podcast with Aaron Berk.